Hi everyone again. My name is Bryan with Spenties and I'm joined by Sagar with Bionic Prosthetics and Orthotics. If you've watched our two previous webinars, we've gone over the ins and outs and the nuts and bolts of the digital workflow from scan to model to print. And we've also talked about how Bionic has used a hybrid approach from getting started nearly 7 years ago to where they are today and using digital on a daily basis. But today, I want to take the time to answer the biggest question that's in O&P today, and that is, how do I get started? This is a question that you may not find the answer to today because each and every single clinic looks different. But I hope to share with you a real path that you can take advantage of if it works well for your clinic. And because there are so many different ways to do it,
Absolutely.
we may not have all the time to investigate each of those ways. But let's just get right into it. If someone were to ask you today, how do I get started? Where would you tell them to start their efforts?
Well, I would first tell them to really evaluate what your needs and what your goals are for your practice. Really, there are so many different ways you can integrate the 3D technology into your practice, and it's really important that you sit down and you think about what approach works best for you. You have to look at the type of patients you see. Are you seeing more pediatrics? Are you seeing more orthotics? Are you seeing more prosthetics? Are you seeing a combination of both? Then you have to think about what resources are currently available to me. I mean, do I already have a lab in the back of my clinic? Do I have a technician or multiple technicians that are already with me? How can I, do I want to have that lab and those technicians still in place while I embrace digital technology? Whether you want to move away from that and just go completely digital, or you want to have them and the 3D technology also available, so kind of do a hybrid approach. You want to look at how many clinics do you have? Is it just one clinic and one lab and this is where everything happens, or you have multiple locations? I mean, you have to look at that. You have to look at your practitioners. I mean,
This is important.
This very, very important. How invested are your clinics or your clinicians? How much time do they have? Everybody wants to embrace the 3D technology into their practice, but really, you also have to be practical about it. I mean, I know of a lot of practitioners who are so busy seeing patients all day long that they just don't have the time to put into learning this whole new process, right? So you have to take a look at that as well. How busy is your practice? What is the type of what does your practitioner's schedule typically looks like? How much time can your clinic and your clinicians put into or have available to them to learn about this? So once you have, and of course the last thing is finances. I mean, how much do you want to invest into the 3D technology and stuff as well? So once you've evaluated all of these things, then I guess it will help you make the best decision as to what approach works best for you. I will tell you that there is this is a correct approach and this is a wrong approach. No approach is wrong. The approach that works best for you is the approach that's best. So really you look at those options before you make a decision.
It sounds like getting started is almost, you can't get started without first asking yourself all of those questions.
Correct.
And to know that, and the answers to those questions is what is going to sort of kind of arm the practitioner to make informed decisions, which is important, to know your budget, to know everything that you just mentioned.
Sure.
really helps with taking those first steps into digital.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, like, there's really, it's narrowed down today though.
Mm-hmm.
Even though there are plethora of options, there's just, to me it seems like it's more streamlined to either take the option of I'm going to learn everything myself
Mm-hmm.
and do the YouTube, the limb lattice, or reaching out to your network and learning everything yourself. And that could be for the person that wants the full freedom and control and all of that of the process.
That was
Takes,
me.
yeah, that was you. It takes the longest.
Yes.
It's I mean, by the longest, I mean that's time of learning.
Right.
It's the time of
And failing.
and also investing in the equipment and bringing it in house. So there are some, I wouldn't even call those disadvantages, but you have to understand what that is.
Yes.
And it's a curve.
Yes.
And that's one way to go about it. It's a long curve.
Not so much longer with
Okay.
with the collective knowledge that we have between people who have actually gone through that process and are happy to share it with the industry, like we are trying to do here. And a lot of people who have actually gone through that long curve are now helping other clinics and clinicians embrace that and sharing what they have learned so that they can make that process easier for
Which I love.
the newcomers. Yeah, I mean sharing is caring.
That's right. And that's one way to get started, is to lean into your network, and lean into the technology like YouTube and different, now there's even consulting services to teach you how to do these things.
Yeah. And talk to people in your network, talk to people who have embraced the digital technology one way or the other. Ask them about their experiences, ask them about what worked for them, what didn't work for them, where they failed, where it's working efficiently. I mean that's another piece of the puzzle. Like, talk to your peers.
Yeah, I love that. And to talk about kind of how Spenty's does this and how I do this in my day-to-day with introducing 3D, and people ask, okay, how do we get started? To me, I do it a little bit different. And we do it differently. So, number one, we have the streamlined workflow and how we talked about that in the previous webinar of how it's scan, model, print in one place, and it's guided, and all the tools that are available in the workflow are really hand-picked for the specific processes that are going to be used. But we understand a lot of the answers to the questions about my practitioners and who they are as people, and do I want to do this in-house and all this, that, and the other. We kind of have taken those questions and understood and front-loaded the answers to those questions with a service, essentially.
Right.
And the way that we do it is we pick a single application because everything can be very overwhelming. We say, if you answered that you're seeing a high pediatric patient population. Those 3 P's got me. But if that's what you see most of, we may want to start talking about pediatric orthotics more than, how do we digitize our prosthetics?
Correct.
If it's orthotics that you see most of. So we begin to focus on one single application, one single process with one clinic or one clinician or a group of clinics, whatever it is, but it's taking steps to where it's not like you're having to go through this major transformation overnight, or spend a lot of time learning the different processes, because we offer that as a service, essentially, is to help with the planning and to help with the hardware and to do all that through Spenty's. And this approach of single application, short time frame to measure results, data gathering, that works well for some. For others, it's not the best fit. So this is now 2 ways to go digital, essentially, is to do it all yourself, to lean into the expertise of another company with a workflow designed specifically for single applications, multiple applications, but focusing on a single. But for you, what about going digital has really resonated with your staff? Like, weeks ago we were talking about how, you don't use digital for everybody,
Correct.
and there's some folks that don't want to do it at all. But how did you have to convince?
Yes.
People?
Well, when you say did I have to convince, I believed in convincing by demonstrating how it works.
Showing, not telling.
Showing, not telling.
Yeah.
So if one clinician is really not so much on board, but another clinician is, well, when the clinician who's on board uses the digital workflow and is able to show outcomes, we share it with the rest of the team and really demonstrate how clean, how efficient, and how it helped provide a better outcome and saved not just time but cost, labor, and when you repeatedly see success with that, someday the other practitioner is going to be like, okay, well, if it's working so well for him, maybe I should give it a try. And then they will approach and say, okay, well, I do want a 3D printed brace for my next patient. How do I go about it? So like you said, we use multiple different approaches within our practice because we are a larger practice. We have a lot of different, again, even within our group, I mean, there are clinics that do a lot of heavy pediatric work. There are clinics that do a lot of heavy cranial work. There are clinics that do, heavy prosthetic work. So really, one digital workflow doesn't work best for us. At every clinic, there's a different digital workflow. So there are multiple digital workflows. So if when we have a clinic that's heavy pediatric and they do a lot of bracing, FDM technology, yes, we are using it to create some braces here and there. In terms of AFOs and stuff, FDM technology is not quite there yet. It's a work in progress, right? We are making a lot of progress in that regard. But MGF technology is in today's day, the best technology that's available right now in the digital workspace for things like AFOs. That's where an application like Spentees is ideal for our clinics because they can just take a scan, they can design, and then they hit print, and Spentees prints the brace, and in 5 days you get a beautiful box from Spentees and a beautiful brace within. And that workflow works best. But then there are clinics that are heavy prosthetics and they just want to be able to see patients quickly, and having an FDM printer workflow where they scan, design, and print in-house or print at our central fabrication facility and get the socket, that works best for them. So really multiple different approaches work. Now even within the Spentees workflow, the thing I like about the Spentees workflow is the clinician can decide at what level they want to be engaged with that process. So the fact that they can just either take a scan and just fill out a work order and just submit it, and then the Spentees team takes care of all of the designing and printing and the rectifications is nice. Some practitioners just absolutely love that. But there are other clinicians, hey, I want to see how this rectification was done. I want to see how it looks. And then the fact that the app allows you to be able to be engaged at that level and see what's going on and how it was done, and be able to give your feedback and ask for changes and be able to visualize those things works great.
Yeah, totally. I really think that we as an industry and Spentees we're on the right path to making this better today than it was yesterday.
Correct.
And getting started easier today than it was years ago.
Correct.
And it's just the natural progression of innovation and things like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, even with FDM printing, I mean, if FDM printing works for you, for your sockets, but you don't want, either you don't have a technician or the space, or you don't want to invest so much in buying an FDM printer. There are a lot of central fabrication facilities today that offer 3D printing, Bionic being one of them. But there are other providers like prosthetics, provide some 3D printing options if you want to have your printer but you don't want to run it. That's one approach that they're using. But if you want a 3D printed product and you want to take a scan and send it out, there are central fabrication facilities that can fabricate the 3D printed devices for you as well, even within FDM.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let's take a few minutes to talk about the business case,
Sure.
because I think a lot of practitioner-owned businesses today are looking at their bottom line and they're
Yes.
saying, okay, what is this going to cost? I'm trying to figure out my budget, and there's so many different ways to do this.
Yes.
Let's talk about the business case. So we have the investment in scanners. We have the investment in modeling software or free software.
Yes.
Options.
Or a combination of
the combination of the two. And also on top of that is the SaaS model, the software as a subscription.
Sure.
And then you have, do you print in-house or do you print with a provider?
Sure.
These are the costs associated with 3D technology. Maybe there's modeling fees if you're using a consulting service. Maybe there's different setup fees if you're using a provider for the printing, post-processing. But to narrow it down, scanning, software, printing. Scan, model, print.
Right.
And we went into detail about the nuts and bolts of these different things before. You're looking at today where you have invested already in the scanners.
Right.
Right? Either, and the majority of that is structure scanner, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So when you're looking at modeling software today, what is the cost analysis that matters to you as a business director?
So, in terms of the modeling software, I mean, if you can use something like Mesh Mixer, which is absolutely free, it cannot do everything, but you can make it work if you have the time and resources to learn the software and do it yourself. But then there are other modeling softwares like Rapid Plaster is one of them, and you can get it on a subscription basis. You can get the Omega software from Billowwood, which is really designed for the O&P industry for the digital rectifications. It works great. Again, it's more of a subscription model. You have the Mercurius, has their software, that allows you to do the rectifications. Again, I think there are multiple ways. Either you can choose the number of models that you want to do, so you can buy maybe a package, or you can just buy a monthly subscription, depending on the needs of your practice. So that is certainly a cost involved, in addition to the scanning technology, which we talked about, ranging from white light scanner to a structure scanner, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's narrowed down to sub 2K or more than 2K.
Correct.
Structure scanner and mobile applications less than 2,000.
Correct.
More than 2,000 is going to be those white light scanners.
Yeah, and then you have the app-based that can be a subscription based model as well. So that goes for the digital, the clinical modifications, the rectifications, and these are all your different options.
If someone asked you today, where would you get started today in regards to just software? What would you choose? Knowing everything that you know, what would you choose?
Well, really, again, the answer depends on what is your practice. I mean, if you really want to start with maybe just sockets, maybe just test sockets, start with Mesh Mixer. It's simple as you can learn to design that, and then don't worry about you not having a printer. There are multiple central fabrication facilities that you can just design it on Mesh Mixer, and you can send it to them, and they will print it for you. You get a printer yourself and print those test sockets. So that's certainly an option. So that's where I would start if I just want to do a prosthesis. But if I want to do pediatric orthotics and that's my focus, start with something like a Spenty's app.
Sure.
Just get a subscription and scan, design, and print. I mean, that's as easy. There's no learning curve to that per se. It's very intuitive. It's very simple, and you can get started. So it really depends on what.
Yeah, it's definitely decreased.
Correct.
Full transparency, you still have to learn. I mean,
yes.
There's still aspects of it that the best folks will try to learn. I mean, sure, maybe you could do it with your eyes closed. But that's, that's not necessary. We're creating specific custom devices for people to walk on. Correct. And I think practitioners have an obligation to understand this technology. Correct. If they're going to use it. So that's an interesting approach, though. You started with mesh mixer, and you're still recommending that, essentially. And if you don't have the time to learn these things, either outsource it to somebody or use consulting services. There are a lot of central fab facilities. Like I said, Ascent Fab is one option that provides consulting for the design, the modifications, and printing. Bionic does the same. With the Spenty's app, you can do that. I mean, there are so many options that are out there that you can play with and try this technology out. Yeah, I think that's a good way that we could summarize this all. Free subscription consulting. Correct. And or design and print as a service. Right. Essentially. And I would say that those are the best three options if we could narrow them down to get started today. Right. And I recommend trying all three, or speaking to all three, because correct. I don't think that anyone has arrived at, we have finally completed the digital workflow. We're done. No, this is a journey, right? We are still figuring it out ourselves after all these years. Yeah. Yes. This is a journey. So take the time to explore, and don't feel like, and this is my message, is to don't feel like you have to jump in and spend hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to get started with 3D technology. That is not the case. If that's in your brain today, take that out and throw it away, because it's not the reality. Take the time to explore. But yes. So tell me, how much does printing cost? So if you want to buy a printer yourself and print it, again, there are a lot of these options. I mean, you can go on Amazon and buy a $300 FDM printer that you can put on your desk and print. I mean, is it going to print as fast as the printers that high flow extruder systems do? Probably not. But cost. The point I'm trying to make is cost is not necessarily a barrier to get started with 3D printing. I mean, I have printed a socket successfully on a $600 Amazon printer, and yes, it took 70 hours, but it worked. But if you're looking at commercial printers, it can be anywhere between $10,000 to $50,000, depending on the make, the model, the type, and what technology they use. I mean, I have multiple printers from Filament Innovations, great company, makes amazing printers. PVA Med is another, company that makes very efficient printers designed for people. I just want to clarify, you're talking about FDM, right? Correct. Yes. Okay. Yes. FDM. And there are a lot of options that are available that are, relatively, less expensive, but, can provide decent results. Now, yes, of course, once you go into the MJF world, I mean, if you are somebody who has the resources to invest in, an MJF printer and do all of that in-house, I think you can talk more about how much that would cost. Well, sure. That's definitely a game of volume, and if you have the volume to justify bringing that technology in-house, I mean, it's multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars. Right. It's upfitting your building. It's a lot that goes into bringing that technology in-house. But the benefit of having it, if you have lots of volume and you're doing tons of AKs, BKs, AFOs, cranial, everything, and you want to print it all, you start to look at bringing that technology in-house, and the ROI is evident over time. It's just a big jump. So if someone is looking to get started in 3D printing today, or digital today, I don't believe getting started includes buying a multi-jet fusion printer today. Correct. it's maybe using the services and 3D print labs that can do it
Send
for
it
you.
to someone who
Send it
already
to
has
someone.
it
Yeah.
and can
Yeah.
print it for you.
Test
Yes.
test the materials, test the process, and once you arrive to the point and you have an integration plan, then yeah, I mean, invest if it makes sense. But
Would you say at this point maybe it's maybe a better option for maybe a central fabrication?
I would say so. Foot orthotics, man, I mean, I've gone to a few conferences where you see like hundreds of foot orthotics made overnight.
Yep.
I mean, I think Hirschko 3D prints
Yes.
foot orthotics.
Yes. And
HP
does an
Arise
amazing job
does
with
that.
that.
Yeah. So that's one application that makes a lot of sense to bring the technology in-house. But I do believe that it is a very important technology, and that when we begin to talk about definitives, the cost of the hardware over time is actually attractive compared to some of the limitations on FDM.
Right.
But it's a completely different class of printing.
Right.
Yeah, that was implementing 3D technology into your digital practice. I think that you have tons more questions, right? This is a journey, as I mentioned. This isn't something that overnight you're going to find success with. You need to be prepared to learn, fail, and it's an exciting time to do that, because a lot of the failures that you guys maybe experienced can be mitigated to where today you're not experiencing those same failures. The technology is faster. It's easier to integrate. So if I had any recommendation for you at all, it would be just to get started and use some of the tools and resources that we talked about today. If you'd like to get started with Spenty's, feel free to reach out to me or use Bionic Central Fab services, or even just learn from design and things like that. We're open books. So
Sure.
Join us next week as we talk more about the digital workflow. Bryan with Spenty's, joined by
Sagar with Bionic.
and we'll see you soon.